This week, it's another lesson in how the first Transformer to go by a name isn't always the one who becomes the best known, as we take a look at the basics on the Autobot cadet who's a stickler for the rules, STRONGARM. The first Transformer named STRONGARM was introduced in 2004's Transformers Energon and transformed into a Cybertronian Jeep. He was one of the Omnicons, a race of Autobot-allied Transformers with the power to manipulate energon, the Transformers' fuel, and came with a set of energon accessories that could be combined to create various weapons. STRONGARM's character profile described him as a bot who preferred his work mining and sculpting energon to fighting. But beyond this, the energon cartoon and comic book would depict him rather differently. In the cartoon, the Omnicons began life as a group of Transformers who left Cybertron long ago to escape the war, who began new lives mining energon and evolved into new forms as they developed a resistance to its radiation over the millennia. Here, STRONGARM wasn't a unique individual, rather multiple Omnicons shared the STRONGARM body type. In the present day, when it appeared the Autobot-Decepticon war was over, the Omnicons returned to Cybertron and helped the Transformers mine energon on Earth and other worlds. But when the war erupted again, the Omnicons found a different use for their talents, shaping energon to create tools and weapons for their Autobot comrades to use in battle against the Decepticons. In the comic, on the other hand, STRONGARM was an individual bot. He and the other Omnicons were implied to be evolved members of the race of tiny Transformers, the Minicons. Young, eager, and untested, STRONGARM and the Omnicons enjoyed a spotlight issue in which they were captured by the Decepticon Snowcat and nearly brainwashed into serving him, until they managed to break free and used their energon-controlling powers to defeat him. Later in the line, a powered-up recolor of the STRONGARM toy was released, representing the character after his body had become fused with pure energon itself. In 2007, a live-action movie incarnation of STRONGARM was introduced in the first film's tie-in toy line. He was a recolor of the Energon toy, with the same basic personality, preferring working to fighting. Though here, he was a funny, chatty electronics genius whose work was building weapons for his comrades. He didn't appear in the film itself, but featured in tie-in comics from IDW Publishing, in which he was part of a group of Autobots who had remained behind on the dying Cybertron when Optimus Prime's team left the planet, who foiled Starscream's plan to rule their world by constructing a replica of the life-giving Allspark. STRONGARM also appeared in the United Kingdom's movie comic, published by Titan Magazines, in stories set in a parallel timeline where the Decepticons won the conflict on Earth, in which STRONGARM was one of the Autobots who joined Prime's forces on the planet to help liberate it from Decepticon control. In 2011, another version of STRONGARM, this one from the world of Transformers Animated, was introduced by the Transformers Collectors Club, also based on the Energon character. But not every new character named STRONGARM would keep up this trend. In between these releases, in 2006, in order to keep their trademark on the name active, Hasbro released an Autobot Minicon police car named STRONGARM. The toy was available in both the Transformers Classics and Cybertron toy lines, but neither release came with any individual biographical info for the character, so instead, the Collectors Club produced a profile for each version of the figure. They described the classic STRONGARM as a multi-talented bot always out to acquire new skills, while the Cybertron STRONGARM was a cynical but soft-hearted law enforcer. However, Hasbro themselves had written a profile for the toy that it was never released with, which described STRONGARM as a studious young police bot who lived his life by following all the rules. This abandoned characterization would resurface nearly a decade later, when a brand new female incarnation of STRONGARM was introduced in 2015's Robots in Disguise. This version of STRONGARM was an Autobot who transformed into a police SUV, and as Hasbro had intended for the Minicon before her, was characterized as an enthusiastic, studious police cadet who had memorized every rule, regulation, law, statute, and code there was, and followed them all with a strictness so obsessive that even her teammates sometimes found it frustrating. As seen in the Robots in Disguise cartoon, STRONGARM was on a ride-along with Senior Officer Bumblebee on Cybertron when he was abruptly summoned away to Earth. Believing protocol demanded it, STRONGARM followed him to the planet, where she joined his new team on its mission to round up the Decepticon escapees of the crashed prison ship, Alcamore. She had trouble getting used to the different rules the Autobots had to live by on Earth, and she frequently clashed with her new teammate, the brash street punk Sideswipe, thanks to his disregard for rules and regs. But with time, STRONGARM's experiences on Earth helped broaden her perspective, as she learned when to follow the rules and when to break them, whether it was disobeying orders to apprehend the kleptomaniac Filch, proving the importance of careful planning to the cocky Autobot Windblade, learning to prioritize results in the field over test scores in order to save a town from the scavenger Scatterspike, or putting duty ahead of friendship to bring to justice her former best friend Nitra, who had been expelled from the police academy and turned to a life of crime, among many other adventures. With multiple appearances in ancillary media and numerous figures in the Robots in Disguise toy line, STRONGARM quickly emerged as one of the series' most popular new characters, and soon began showing up in other Transformers stories. The Collectors Club introduced an evil Mirror Universe version of the character in their Shattered Glass series in 2016, while IDW Publishing's comic books incorporated STRONGARM into their universe in 2018 as a rookie member of the Autobot commando unit, the Wreckers. After IDW rebooted their comics in 2019, STRONGARM enjoyed a recurring role in the new series as a junior member of Cybertron's security operations, once more serving alongside Sideswipe, questioning the morality of their commanding officer Prowl, and generally trying to look out for her unlucky comrade Bumper. She would also appear in IDW's Last Bot Standing miniseries, set in the far distant future at the end of the universe, as one of the last Cybertronians alive. Most recently, a new toy of STRONGARM was released in Transformers Legacy in 2023, the first character from Robots in Disguise to be featured in the line, cementing her status as the most significant new bot from that series. From humble beginnings as a Minicon who was once the obscure odd one out in an energon crowd, STRONGARM the police bot broke with protocol to become the most famous bot to bear the name. And those are the basics on STRONGARM. Which is your favourite take on the character? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and check out my library of videos on Transformers history and lore like this, plus get early access to new videos and leave comments before everyone else by supporting the series on Patreon.